morning. Welcome to my kitchen. This morning we are going to learn how to make eggs, scrambled eggs with chives and a little bit of creme fraiche. And we will be toasting some bread. Alright, so the ingredients that we will need are eggs, our creme fraiche, our lovely chives, and our sweet patate. Chives, I want to talk about very quickly, give off a kind of oniony, garlicky, light flavor. It's really nice, just similar to when you add parsley to pasta. It gives this earthy, green flavor. It's lovely. And as I said, kind of oniony, garlicky, but not as strong as onions or garlic. We will now preheat our oven to about 375 degrees, 380, because we're going to toast our sweetbread. So let's go ahead and cut up our sweetbread and pop that in the oven. If you have a toaster that can accommodate the inch-thick slices that we're going to use, then by all means use the toaster. My toaster doesn't accommodate that size. Our serrated bread knife. Nice, thick slices. Let's go ahead and start with these two. So let's go ahead and toast butter both sides of our bread. Now, please note, butter is fantastic, it's delicious, it's good for you, but you don't want to glob on butter. You see how I'm doing it now? It's just coating it. Very similar as to if you were giving an egg wash. You don't have to get in the nooks and crannies because again, we're doing this more to enhance the bread flavor. We're good to go. So it's in there, we've buttered it. It's probably gonna be in there. You wanna preheat the oven, that's the first thing that you want to do. And then you wanna go ahead and slice your bread, butter your bread and put that in there because by the time you're done, it should be toasted. In the middle, however, so in about 5-10 minutes from now, we're going to wanna flip it over. So make sure you use the sense of your nose to smell that toasted smell, not that burnt smell. Okay, that's the bread. Let's move on to the eggs. You need your eggs, your creme fraiche, your chives, your whisker, your bowl, and your pan. People always seem to be impressed when you can use one hand to crack an egg. I think that's cool. I think at the end of the day, you want a good tasting meal. So if you can crack your eggs with one hand, awesome. If you cannot, if you can avoid getting shells into your eggs with cracking it with one hand, great. If you need two hands, use two hands. So here we are at the stove. We are going to now, let's go over our ingredients very quickly before we start on the eggs. And, okay, so we have our pan, we talked about this already. We have our creme fraiche. We have a little bit of olive oil, some butter, some salt, and pepper. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. We don't want this piping hot because you don't want, eggs are very delicate and you don't want them to meet the pan and then scream at the pan because when they scream at the pan, they shatter and then they cook hard. We don't want our scrambled eggs to be hard. We want them to be soft, not runny, but just fluffy and just right. So we've started on our pan. A trick that I like to use in order for the pan, the stainless steel, not to, because this is not non-stick, this is stainless steel. In order for the heat to dissipate more, I always add a little bit of water. It helps, I feel, the heat just spends more evenly. That could be total conjecture, but it works for me and I like to use that. And plus it helps me get an idea of how hot the pan actually is. I have this at a medium heat, and if you see, there's steam already coming up for the pan, so I know that it's getting hot and not too hot, because that's what we want. Obviously if it starts boiling, that's far too hot for us. So this is about ready right now. You see that the steam is coming up a lot more. This is the heat that we want. Again, remember, we don't want the pan to be screaming hot. That will scream at our eggs and there'll be an argument. So let's go ahead and turn down the heat. See the bubbles forming? That's exactly what I want. So I'm just gonna cool off the outside edges of the pan. Let me dump this. I'll come right back and we're gonna start with our eggs. So there's a little bit of water here. You can wipe it away. You can just let the heat dissipate it. So now that pan is nice and even. Let's add a little bit of butter, about, oops, a quarter tablespoon. Make sure your counters are clean. Maybe a little bit more. Butter lubricates laughter. And a little bit of oil. Let's switch this around. This is about the right time to add in the creme fraiche. Now with eggs, because they're so delicate, you don't want the heat to stay on the whole time. You actually will be playing with the heat, turning the heat on, turning the heat off. A nice dollop. Turn off the heat. See how I got a little dry at the bottom right there? That's because the heat is there. You don't want to kill it. Creme fraiche is now nicely melting in. And now our beautiful chives. Remember what I said about the heat? See how sometimes it gets dry, which is fine. We'll use that heat to help us out. Add just a little bit of salt. Okay, so there we have it, brekkies. Very quick, very simple, easy, 4 ingredients: eggs, creme fraiche, chives, and bread. So now remember, if you have a toaster that can accommodate these thick slices, by all means use your toaster rather than the oven, but don't butter your bread before you put it in the toaster. I believe we are done. We are ready to dive in and eat. This smells amazing. I'm sure yours smells absolutely divine and amazing. And you have your coffee. You have your breakfast. Eat.